Guillermo del Toro's wonderfully weird The Shape of Water is stuffed full of unexpected movie homages. Del Toro takes joy in mixing together a mishmash of references to everything that's personally moved him in relation to this story, from monster horror to old Hollywood musicals to biblical epics. And the resulting texture feels fitting for a film that can best be described as a fairy tale for adults. So here are some of the movie references and homages that we caught in The Shape of Water. Before we go on, we wanted to tell you a little bit about this video's sponsor, Skillshare, which is a really great online learning community. They've got classes on everything we love: video production, writing, photography. Only in January, you can get 3 months premium access to all of their classes for just 99 cents total. You can get the deal through our link in the description below. Now, back to Shape of Water. Del Toro saw Creature from the Black Lagoon when he was a kid, and he found his young heart longing for the creature to get a happy ending with the woman he fell for.
It started when I was 6, and at 6 I was watching Creature from the Black Lagoon.
There's a similarity between the creature and
the creature swims underneath Julie Adams, and I just thought, what a great love story. I was 6, I thought, I'm sure it's gonna end well.
Yeah.
The creature's gonna come out well.
He said he felt the same way about Frankenstein's monster and King Kong. So The Shape of Water began out of reimagining this whole monster story. What if the beauty fell for the so-called beast? Speaking of, we can't help but draw comparisons to Beauty and the Beast, especially Cocteau's version from 1946, which is also a sophisticated adult fairy tale. A beautiful woman feels somehow different from other people. Belle is obviously beautiful to those around her, but her inner beauty makes her weird to them. Here, Eliza is the princess without a voice. Del Toro told Variety that he wanted to create, quote, a new type of Beauty and the Beast, in which the beauty is someone you can relate to, not a perfect princess.
I also wanted the leading character to be beautiful, but in a way that was unique and powerful, not model, not Hollywood, that you fell in love with her rather than simply admiring.
Meanwhile, Michael Shannon's Colonel Strickland is the Cold War-era Gaston, who appears picture-perfect but is a beast inside. The creature here is the romantic heartthrob of the movie, while the apple pie image of the successful all-American provider is the true monster, whom the narration alludes to at the start as the one who almost ruins everything. The other difference between this and Beauty and the Beast that Del Toro remarked upon to Variety is that here, quote, the beast doesn't need to transform to find love. In Beauty and the beast has to transform into a human to get a happy romantic ending. But here, the beast doesn't have to change. Eliza ends up entering his underwater world. This might remind us of Tom Hanks joining Daryl Hannah's mermaid in the ocean at the end of Splash, or the princess becoming an ogre at the end of Shrek. And it's a very clear reversal of the ending of Creature from the Black Lagoon, where the creature is shot repeatedly and dies while the humans escape. Here, instead, the creature survives multiple shots, and he and Eliza escape into the water. The conclusion is a perfect way to express the movie's "the monster is us" theme. Eliza understands that it's many of the humans who are truly the monstrous ones, and the creature is perfect just as he is.
And the themes, the idea of embracing the otherness, understanding and not transformation as a motor of love, those are very new for me, and they are very much today.
We could make even more comparisons to other movies about humans interacting with non-humans, like E.T., or Black Stallion, or John Carpenter's Starman, which actually did embrace the romance between the alien and the human. But ultimately, Del Toro builds on his influences to create a result that's wholly original, and perhaps weirder and more spectacular than anything we've ever seen before in the monster-human romance genre.
Oh, God, to be young and beautiful.
Del Toro apparently gave Sally Hawkins a Blu-ray set to prepare her for playing a mute character, and it featured the work of great silent stars like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Laurel and Hardy. Then, to give us the vibrant, tender world inside Eliza's head, Del Toro uses musicals. Eliza's jam is watching old Hollywood musicals on her best friend Giles's TV. They dance along to Shirley Temple and Bojangles on the Staircase in The Little Colonel. Betty Grable performs Pretty Baby from Coney Island, and we see 1941's That Night in Rio. Eliza dancing with the broom is a nod to Fred Astaire with the hat rack in Royal Wedding. She also plays the creature records by Glenn Miller and Benny Goodman. Her love story takes the form of musicals to show us how civilized, how heartfelt, how refined her inner soul is. But lest we get the wrong idea, Del Toro makes it clear that this isn't a sugar plum, sexless fantasy. And that's one of the ways we know right away that this is an adult fairy tale. From the start, we get her masturbating to an egg timer. Then she's courting the creature with eggs, so there's an obvious sexual connotation to that food. And when the romance progresses, Zelda makes her explain how the sex actually works with the creature. So the mechanics aren't just glossed over. Eliza's name recalls the heroine of one of the most loved musicals ever, My Fair Lady, based on Pygmalion.
Stuffed with nails, you want? Here, take the old blooming basket for sixpence!
The story of a Cockney woman who's made over into a lady and taught to speak properly by Henry Higgins. We see a dark version of Higgins in Strickland. He's turned on by Eliza because she can't speak, and he even covers up his wife's mouth during sex so that he can feel total domination. He likes that idea of creating someone's identity. But then we also see lighter versions of the Pygmalion story, in the way that Eliza civilizes the creature with her music, and ultimately in the way that the creature introduces Eliza to a more sophisticated new world. Giles and Eliza watch Hello Frisco Hello and echo Alice Faye's song You'll Never Know.
You'll never know.
This actually won the Academy Award for Best Song in 1943. When Eliza later sings this song to her love in her mind, she imagines the two partaking in a pretty hilarious black and white song and dance number based on Fred and Ginger in Follow the Fleet. The moment is a beautiful expression of Eliza's true voice in the language of old movies that she loves, a voice that can't be heard in this world. When she finally goes into the water at the end, the scars on her neck, which are assumed to be from an injury that made her mute, become gills. The symbolism is that she's been a fish out of water her whole life without quite knowing it, that she couldn't speak in this world of air because her voice belonged in water, and now perhaps she'll even be able to sing. The movie's final words explain the title, The Shape of Water, speaking of a you that has no shape because you're felt everywhere. And that you, the water that surrounds Eliza, is the love and understanding that was missing from her world. That love and understanding to Del Toro is what the creature himself represents.
The creature here is literally the shape of water.
Eliza lives above a cinema that's showing a biblical epic, the story of Ruth. The biblical book of Ruth is all about loyalty to a family and a faith that is discovered rather than born into, as Ruth converts and faithfully serves her husband's family even after his death. The Shape of Water is also a story of a woman who realizes her true life lies in a new world and her true faith is in a new God, and she is loyal to that newly awakened faith. And while it's not exactly a direct reference to the movie version, the other Bible story that heavily features in Shape of Water is Samson and Delilah. Eliza's best friend Zelda has the middle name Delilah, so Strickland calls her Delilah, and he uses the story of Delilah cutting Samson's hair and taking away his strength as an example of female cunning and betrayal.
No man leaves Delilah.
It's his way of reminding this black woman that she is the other, an evil female. And in Strickland's eyes, the story is fulfilled. The women steal the asset from under his nose. He brings up the story again to taunt Zelda, telling her that Samson still regains his strength by trusting in God to win in the end. Yet shortly after, Zelda manages to warn Eliza that Strickland's after her and put her own useless husband in his place while she's at it. So we end up with a reversal of the Samson and Delilah story. Maybe this story, written by men telling us that Delilah was an evil seductress, wasn't the whole truth. Maybe she had a reason to take that man's strength away. Strickland all this time has been so sure that he is a man made in God's image.
You may think that thing looks human, but we're created in the Lord's image. You don't think that's what the Lord looks like, do you?
But just before his death, he realizes he's made a huge mistake. He's been attacking a god. Revisiting the Delilah story is representative of what the movie's doing overall, looking back at stories we think we know so that we can hear them from the perspective of the other. A black woman, a closeted gay man, a woman who literally can't speak, and a monster who's really a god.
It's a movie about love and about loving the other and not being afraid of the other.
Eliza's cathedral window is an homage to the window in Powell and Pressburger's The Red Shoes, and Powell and Pressburger are a big visual influence on Del Toro generally.
Yes, you're quite right.
The director was also inspired by melodramas like the work of Douglas Sirk.
The look, yes, is Douglas Sirk, Powell and Pressburger, particularly The Red Shoes, Black Narcissus, Tales of Hoffman, Vincenzo Minnelli, musicals with Gene Kelly, the Charade, Stanley Donen's work, his camera work, William Wyler, his work with actor and camera.
The long list of various movies that touched or influenced Del Toro's style in some way here is a hint that he's expressing a tender love for the medium of cinema itself.
Well, I wanted to make a movie in love with love and in love with cinema, both. And I thought, for me, they're indistinguishable.
Del Toro said that he used the color red only to signify cinema or love. So he used red for the door to the movie theater, and he also used red in relation to Eliza and her love. We do catch a bit of TV in the movie, too. Giles watches Mr. Ed, the show starring a horse, another nod to the intelligence and majesty of non-human characters.
I just don't understand it.
Don't try to. It's bigger than both of them.
Strickland's family watches The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis at home. At a superficial glance, we might think this is a standard wholesome sitcom to match their cookie-cutter life. But it was actually a subtly revolutionary show. It's said to be the first that made teenagers the main characters, unlike the family-centered Leave It to Beaver or Father Knows Best. So on Strickland's own TV, we get another quiet sign of a country that's moving away from him under his nose. We hear Strickland's wife declare Bonanza to be too violent for the kids to watch. He also visits a Cadillac dealership where he's sold on the pitch that 4 out of 5 successful men in America drive a Caddy. So these images in his mind of success and domination trap him into a mindset of never being able to fail, as if life were only about winning and losing.
You deliver, that's what you do, you deliver, right? Right?
And there are even more influences and references we can spot here and there. In addition to Ruth, the cinema is playing 1958's Mardi Gras. And it's hard not to at least mention Del Toro's own earlier work, especially Pan's Labyrinth, which also combines magical realism with real-world wars and horrors. But in the end, one thing that's refreshing and very different about all of the influences or echoes that we can find in Shape of Water is that the movie isn't being intellectual and self-reflexively clever here. You don't need to know what movie is playing on Giles's TV to appreciate the story. You just have to feel the emotion that all of these textures add up to.
And the thing that is important for me is to be shameless and earnest and honest and not postmodern, not reflective, because we live in a time where if you talk cynical, it's super easy to sound smart. And when you talk about emotion and love, you sound corny. And we are almost afraid of that. And I wanted to make a proper melodrama, but...
Overall, Del Toro's wide assortment of loving influences and shoutouts reminds us that we're watching a movie that doesn't want to fit into a neat, obvious genre, because it really can't be reduced to a neat label. It's a stunning fable full of sweet, fanciful surreality that doesn't gloss over the sex, blood, and cruelty. The final result is a story that's new and strikingly relevant to our times.
We live in a time of fear and hatred and rage every day on the news and every day on social media and every day in our lives. We are told to fear something, fear the other religion, the other immigrants, the other this, the other that, the other gender. And it's a time to embrace the fact that there is no us and them, but only us. And that's what we have.
Hi guys, this is Susanna. We at ScreenPrism are all about lifelong learning. We're always trying to improve our knowledge of film and visual culture. So we're really into Skillshare. Their online learning community offers over 18,000 classes, all for less than $10 a month. We really like their classes on film, like cinematography, how to make your film look like a movie, editing on Premiere. They can even teach you wedding videography. Not to mention all their classes on business, design, photography, writing. These are some big, distinguished teachers coming to you through your computer screen. And if you sign up this January, you can get 3 months premium access to all classes for just 99 cents. That's 99 cents total. So if you want to take your work or your art to the next level, try Skillshare. Click the link in our description below, head over to Skillshare.com, and start filling your brains with the knowledge you need to develop all the skills you ever wanted.